Good evening. The City Council will convene on Thursday, October 12th, 2023, to hold a regular scheduled meeting at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing any and all business via in-person and remote participation in accordance with Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws. Remote participation is allowed in accordance with Chapter 2 of Acts of 2023, signed into law by Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A, Section 18. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. 1, the meeting will be televised via Peabody Access Television. 2, real-time public comments during public hearing can be addressed to the Peabody City Council utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment or question to the chair via the audio option. Before I ask you to join me in a moment of silence, I'd like to take this opportunity to publicly condemn the horrific terrorist attacks in Israel this past weekend and offer condolences to all those impacted. Now please join me in a moment of silence. And the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Before we hop into our hearings this evening, the Honorable Mayor Betancourt has joined us for a special presentation. Mayor Betancourt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening to you. Good evening, councilors. Hope everybody's doing well. It's great to be with you tonight, and I'm very honored to be joined today by Jackie Turijian, wife of our former great mayor, Peter Turijian, and it's wonderful to have her here with us today. I don't think she's going to want to speak, so I'll be doing the speaking tonight. I'm right about that, right?
Absolutely.
Great. But we are here, very proud to be here today to present the Peter A. Turijian International Festival Award to Jackie Ankles. Jackie and her husband Dave have been actively engaged in our community for many years and have given so much of themselves to help make Peabody a better place to live. But I want to be very clear, this award is not for Dave Ankles. There's only one name on this award. It's Jackie Ankles. Don't get any ideas, Dave. But Jackie's entire life has been devoted to the arts. She was a performing member of the Boston Ballet Company for several years. She has degrees in music and drama from Skidmore College. She is a classical pianist and also received a degree in nursing. She enjoyed a 30-year broadcasting career spent on radio stations WBOQ 104.9 FM and WNBP in Newburyport. More recently, Jackie brought her broadcasting talents to her very own Peabody TV, hosting the wildly entertaining 15 Minutes of Fame, where she interviews interesting members of the community. Jackie's broadcasting background also makes her a natural to host Peabody TV's coverage of the International Festival, which she does with her exceptional energy and flair, and has really made a difference. Jackie has meant a tremendous amount to this community. Those are just a few examples. An incredibly talented, creative woman who is greatly loved in this community. And it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Turijian family and Jackie Turijian to present Jackie Ankles with the Peter A. Turijian International Festival Award.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, let me take this off.
Beautiful. Wow. Look at this. You spelled my name right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the Turijian family, and thank you to everyone who had a hand in selecting me for this year's award. I'm so grateful, and honestly, I was shocked when I first heard the news, didn't believe it, but of course, I'm very happy for the recognition and to be joining the ranks of past award recipients that I've admired for so long. Thank you to members of the council for making time for the presentation tonight and for sharing this beautiful space for these few minutes. Well, I have a confession to make, and I hope it's still okay that I got the award. I'm not really a Peabody native. I wasn't actually born here. Is that okay? Okay. Pretty close. I was born in Lynn, grew up in Marblehead, and then when I was 21, I married David, and he is a real Peabody native. But that's when I officially became a Peabody resident, 1969. 54 years. That's the year they landed on the moon. But it's been home ever since. I didn't really know what it was going to be like to live here at that time. All I really knew about Peabody back then was that's where the North Shore Shopping Center was. So I was very excited about that. But I do know that everyone I met was welcoming and warm and real and simply nice. And all of a sudden I was doing things I had never done before, like going Greek dancing at St. Vacilio's and having my first fried squid at the Sparta on Walnut Street. I was kind of a little squeamish about that. Going to the bazaars of the Portuguese church and the monthly dinners at the CLC, and then later the St. Patrick's Day breakfast here at the City Hall with the bagpipes, and seeing who would tell the corniest jokes and who would do the phoniest Irish brogue. But so much fun. What a city. What a city. And that was what I loved most about Peabody from the very beginning. And same thing I loved about the International Festival. I still love it. The fact that the city is so rich in different cultures. To me, that's one of the major things that makes Peabody pretty amazing and certainly unique. I got to know about many of the organizations in the city, as the mayor said, from doing radio interviews for so many years. I've been reminiscing a lot lately, looking back, thinking back to some of those interviews and people I've met, and just remembering some of the impressive accomplishments of local agencies and businesses over the years. Like when North Shore Arc became Northeast Arc, that was a big deal. When they expanded and grew to encompass so many more communities beyond just the North Shore, that's exciting. Countless milestones, countless good things that have happened in the city. I just love being involved, showing up at events, and participating. That's how I came to love the city, simply by being a Peabody resident and being among so many great people here. Today's a good day. Today is a very good day. Receiving this award, being here with people I know and care about. Today's a very good day. Thank you so much for honoring me with this award. It means more than you can imagine. Thank you.
Mr. President, could we take a 5-minute recess, please?
Councilors, you heard the motion from Council Gould. All in favor, any opposed, its vote. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you, councilors. If you could find your way back, we're going to get started and move on. Moving on to hearing 4A this evening, Class 1 motor vehicle license transfer. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, October 12th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application for MAG Retail Holdings, LRP, LLC, DBA Jaguar Land Rover Peabody, 247 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting the transfer of a Class 1 motor vehicle license at said 247 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Would the petitioner please approach the podium and please provide your name and your address and let us know what you'd like to do?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Walker from Mag Retail Holdings. Apologize. Our owner, Matt McGovern, couldn't be here tonight. He's out of the country. I'm CFO for the company, and we're excited to be here. Thank you for having us. Transfer. Yep.
This is just a transfer for Class 1 motor vehicle license, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. I'm sorry, could you please provide your name again? The clerk couldn't hear.
Mark Walker.
Mark. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this petition this evening? Anyone who'd like to speak in favor? Seeing none. Anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak in favor? Seeing none. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this petition this evening? In opposition. Anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Councilor Gabosh.
Yes, thank you. As the President has suggested that this is just a simple transfer, I will ask that you follow the same hours of operation that were under the previous license holder. That is, hours of operation shall be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. That's the only condition, but I will also advise you that we have a new ordinance concerning delivery of automobiles on car carriers.
Okay.
I would strongly suggest that you tell any car carrier that comes to deliver vehicles to park on your property.
Sure.
Because it is a $1,000 fine, and we just got our first one the other day. So we're very serious about this, and I live right across the street, so I keep a good eye on you. But I'm sure you'll do the right thing. And with that, if there's no further questions, I move to close the public hearing.
Any further questions from the council? Seeing none, you heard the motion from Councilor Gamache to close the public hearing. All in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, at this time, I move approval on the application from MAG Retail Holdings, LRP, LLC, doing business as Jaguar Land Rover Peabody, 247 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting the transfer of a Class 1 motor vehicle license at said 247 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., with the conditions of the hours that I read previously. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach. Yes. Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, Councilors. Councilor Gamache, on that last motion, could I get another motion to accept late communication 2?
Under suspension of rules.
Late 1, I apologize, late 1.
To receive late 1. So moved.
Councilor, you heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. All in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Thank you. Before we move on to hearing 4B, this is a Ward 1 issue, so I'm going to ask Councilor Manning Martin to assume the chair.
Okay, moving right along to hearings for special permit for B. Cassia's Elegant Spa LLC. Would the clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, October 12th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from Cassia's Elegant Spa, LLC, 3 Lawrence Road, Reading, Mass., for a special permit requesting to operate a massage therapy business consisting of, but not limited to, lymphatic drainage massage, modeling massage, deep tissue massage, Swedish massage, reflexology massage, pregnancy massage, facial massage, and sports massage at 145A Summit Street, Suite 204, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Hi, good evening. Could you state your name, name and address into the record and tell us what you'd like to do?
My name is Cassia McMillan. I live in 3 Lawrence Road, Reading, Massachusetts. I'm here. I would like to have my special permit.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the petitioner? Anyone in favor? Anyone in the audience? Last call, in favor of the petitioner? Anyone on Zoom? Nobody on Zoom? Anyone to speak in opposition of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Last call for opposition. Being none, any on Zoom? None on Zoom. Thank you. I'll open it up to Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, fellow councilors. I've had an opportunity to speak with Cassia and gone over also as referenced in late 1, which we just received for the last hearing. I followed up with Sharon Cameron as well. Cassia is up to date and in good standing with the massage therapy licensure through the state of Massachusetts. The particular building there's requiring no construction build out. She has just equipment that she'll be bringing in, which is in line with the business. I've also confirmed with the petitioner that there'll be no laser treatments or injectable treatments. I know that we've run into some issues with med spas that offer those additional services. She's confirmed that those services will not be provided. The only services will be provided are those that are outlined in the special permit application, which are standard massage therapy techniques. So for those reasons, I don't see any issues with this. It seems like a pretty straightforward special permit request. I will also mention, though, in speaking with Sharon Cameron, she has wanted me to make sure that the council knows that the licensure for massage therapy is done through the state. So it's a state licensure, not only for the individual massage therapist, but for the building. So Cassia's next step, should we vote in favor for this special permit, will be to get the building approved through the state massage therapy license procedure. So with that, if there's any questions from my fellow councilors, I'll open it up. I'm happy to try to answer or turn it over to Cassia.
Any councilors with any questions? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved, Madam President.
All in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Welton?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move forward with a motion to allow for a special permit for Cassia's Elegant Spa, requesting to operate a massage therapy business consisting of, but not limited to, lymphatic drainage massage, modeling massage, deep tissue massage, Swedish massage, reflexology massage, pregnancy massage, facial massage, sports massage, at 145A Summit Street, Suite 204, Peabody, Massachusetts, as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. So moved.
You heard the motion. Any remarks on the motion? Being none, roll call.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Welton,
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 4C, special permit for AGA Foster LLC. The clerk will now read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, October 12th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom, on the application from AGA Foster LLC, 6 Andrews Brothers Way, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit requesting to construct a self-service storage facility in a GB zoning district at 47 Tremont Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the city clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Would the petitioner please introduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do?
Thank you, Mr. President. John Kelty, attorney, law offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, appearing on behalf of AG Foster LLC. This matter is currently before the Conservation Commission seeking a new order of conditions, and it is also undergoing site plan review. I have had discussion with one of the counselors with respect to the nuisance, for lack of a better word, that I've created with these continuances. And will we re-advertise this? Is that what? I was going to make a suggestion that may be as effective, that I would ask, first of all, I would ask that the matter be continued to November 16th, because that'll give us 2 meetings of the Planning Board and 1 meeting of the Conservation Commission, so that I would hopefully wrap it up. And if it is the wish of the council that it be put out there again so that the public doesn't lose track of and lose interest in matters that should be of concern to them, I'm more than willing to mail again the abutters list, which I personally think is a little more effective than the ads. I'm not sure who reads ads, but I would certainly offer to remail the notice of hearing and create one for the hearing on the night it's going to be held. With that, I would ask that the matter be continued to November 16th.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. On that suggestion, Councilor Turco, I know you have some thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Walton, Mr. President. So, Councilor Kelty, when we spoke earlier, I actually inadvertently said to you that you needed to re-advertise it according to Rule 16. You don't need to re-advertise, correct it, Madam Clerk. He needs to renotice the abutters, but in a specific way. So, I'll just ask that the clerk supply you with Rule 16 so that it can be done in the proper fashion. And again, I understand things happen, but you know, Rule 17 also states that this is improperly before us. It shouldn't be before us until these other boards have already provided decisions. So maybe if we just don't submit to the building department and the clerk's office until those boards that you know you have to appear before have made their decisions, then you know, we won't come into this issue in the future. But that's all.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Any other councilors on this matter? Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I'm okay with the suggestion from Attorney Kelty to push this out to November. I do believe with the Thanksgiving holiday, our meetings are a bit skewed, so we'd have to address that. But Attorney Kelty, do you think you're actually going to be done? Because it's not just about advertising and notifying abutters, but it takes a spot on our agenda when the clerk's trying to plan out our agenda, as she receives additional applications of people trying to do business in the city. And so if we don't think, or we're not 100% sure that by the end of November, we'll have approval from the other boards that you need approval from before it can actually be before us, I would suggest withdrawing without prejudice and then refiling for the special permit once you have those approvals. I think just from watching the planning board meeting and seeing the different things that have gone on, not just at this site, but other sites that abut this property. And this was like one large project to begin with, and now we're kind of piecemealing it up, which is why we're back doing this process again. So that would be my suggestion, because come November, if you don't have approval, I would ask that it's withdrawn and then resubmitted and gets put back in line with everything else as it comes before the city council. Other than that, I would move to continue to November 21st?
21st.
21st.
21. Any other councilors? All right, so on that motion, Councilor Peach, would you like to restate that motion? I'm sorry.
Move to continue until November 21st.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Also, Councilor Peach, would you mind amending your motion to include that the petitioner will be responsible for re-noticing all of the abutters?
Yes, so moved, that we will enforce Rule 16 that we discovered today.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Eagle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rossignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville. McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you. Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 4D, a special permit for St. Bishoy Incorporated. The clerk will now read the notice, please.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, October 12th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from St. Bishoy, Inc., 598 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit to allow for a retail store for packaged alcoholic beverages in a BN zoning district at 598 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the city clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Craig S. Welton, City Council President.
Thank you, Clerk Danforth. Would the petitioner please reintroduce yourself? Before we move forward, Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be recusing myself from this item this evening as to ensure that there isn't the appearance of a conflict between my position as a city councilor and as deputy director at the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission for Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street here in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I'm representing St. Bishoy, Inc. They do business at 598 Lowell Street as E-Market. The building is owned by John P. Malloy, who is trustee of 89 Main Street, who is trustee of and lives at 89 Main Street in West Lebanon, New Hampshire. Early on in this proceeding, I engaged Mr. Malloy in conversation so as to be able to secure his signature on the application that he is in favor and has no objection to being the owner of a property that would add potentially beer and wine to its offerings. We're proposing that we add to the services and the things being offered by eMarket. We're asking that you consider granting a license for retail store for packaged alcoholic beverages, which requires a special permit in the business neighborhood zone in which this property, which is located at the corner of Johnson Street and Lowell Street, would require such a special permit. We have entered into an agreement with Sajad Sofi. He operated a beer and wine store at Route 1 in the northbound lane. He has closed that some considerable number of months ago. We've been trying to work through some issues that were presented with respect to clearing up his liquor license so that it could possibly be transferred. And then we've applied here for the special permit so that we could go to the licensing board asking them to approve the transfer of this license to St. Bishoy. If we are successful in obtaining the special permit this evening, then we will pick up immediately where we left off with respect to the transfer of the liquor license, and my client would engage in sales of beer and wine. Many of you in your packet, one of the things that I presented with you is letters, petitions signed by neighbors, which are in support. There are a considerable number, I believe, that is in your packet as one of your DE. Yep, there is a whole, in any event, I also have 12 more letters in support, all from the same person. They're 12 copies, but rather than provide you as a late ad with these, I would tell you that I have a letter signed by John and Jonathan Pino and Jennifer Gemma, and they are direct abutters on Johnson Street, and they support Easy Market going forward to gain a liquor and spirits license for the property. I am you're all aware that recently eMarket was faced with a suspension. One of my last continuances I asked for this matter was so that we would be beyond that suspension. My client has successfully served out the time required under that suspension. That suspension was for selling products that contained they were vapes and they contained flavored tobacco. We argued, it turns out that this area is very, very complicated. There's a lot of opinions. I tried to engage the services of several experts who assured me that what my client was selling was hemp, that hemp was not tobacco. But it turns out that the board felt we were not behaving in the spirit of the law. It turns out that every time you try to hire one of the manufacturers to come in and be your expert as to whether these are allowed to be sold under state regulations, they seem more than willing to tell you on the phone, yeah, they're fine, but then when it comes time to speak as an expert in favor, they're few and far between. I finally was able to engage with two attorneys who have considerable experience in this area, and we elected at that point to take our medicine, take the punishment, serve out the no tobacco sales, 30-day suspension, pay the fine, all of which has been done. And my client going forward has done two things. One is she and her husband have installed a new ID system which requires that anybody who needs to be of any age to buy any product will need to present an an ID. Without an ID, they will not be sold the product, and the ID recognition equipment is state-of-the-art. I did tell the Board of Health they were delighted that we were going to use this apparatus. It's an apparatus and machine that's being used in several other stores. It's here in Peabody. It's proven to be very helpful, very successful. And the other thing that my client has decided to do is she's not selling any vapes. Any vape that she is asked to sell or offered to sell, she will bring to the Board of Health and have them vet the product before she puts it on her counters. We're happy to say that we've gotten through the suspension. I feel that my client has certainly learned, been taught a lesson. I would like my client to come forward and tell you a bit about herself and her husband, their story, and then we have many people who would like to testify in their behalf. Thank you. With that, I would like to introduce Nermeen Shakur.
Before we welcome the petitioner, could I just get a motion to receive item 8E?
On the suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8E. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Kamash. Councilor, you heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote.
I'm sorry, and I'm a little nervous. My name is Nermeen Shaker, and I have my husband, Sammy. We own E-Market located in 598 Lowell Street. We come before you tonight to ask for support getting a special permit for the beer and wine license. And I came to the United States in 2002 with my mother, and I got the green card, and 5 years later, I am proud to say I got my USA citizenship. I worked 5 years at the Whiteham Pantry in Haverhill, and I went back to Egypt because I have to finish my psychology degrees over there, and I got married from Sammy over there, and we came back to United States, and he worked with my brother at the pizza shop in Salem, New Hampshire. And I went to work at Whiteham Pantry on Tewksbury, and my husband bought the pizza shop in Amesbury Road, Wanton roast beef. He been working for 7 years, and we decided to sell the store, and we buy the E-Market. And today we have the 2 children. I have one 15 years and one 10 years, and I'm sorry. And we run the store within 2 other full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. Since owning the store, we have built strong relationship with the neighbor and the customer, and we love the city of Peabody. At this time, I would like to acknowledge our violation from the Board of Health and explain what happened and take responsibility for the violation. And both violations occurred from the carrying flavor vapes, not from selling anything to minors. We have since removed all vaping products due to the complexity and confusion in selling this product. We have admitted to our violation and received and served the 30-day suspension from selling all the tobacco product, and we paid the $6,100 fine. Sammy and I are very sorry for and impressed for what happened, and apologize to you and residents of Peabody. Many of you and your family are our customer, and we would never indeed want to do any harm. We plan to own the store for many years to come, and look forward to be good neighbors and partner with the city of Peabody. In closing, I would like to let you know that we have taken safeguard to make sure we have no problems going forward. We have purchased and currently using an individual system that is tied into our register. What this requires is that anybody attempt to purchase any product that require them to be either older than 18 or 21, they're required to submit their license, which is then scanned and recorded for accuracy and confirm they are allowed to purchase this product. This can be for both tobacco product or other item. In addition, I stated briefly, we only have 4 full-time employees, my husband, myself, and Red is here too, and who has been at the location for over 15 years, and he's very well known to all the customers, and his brother Mustafa. We know and care for our customers. As you can see from the letter provided by the butter and the customer who have come out tonight, we have support from the community. In closing, I would like to thank you for your time, and I hope that I have answered any question you may have had regarding our store, and we humbly ask for your vote in support of our special permit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before we open it up to any in favor, I know we have a number of folks that are in favor. I would just like to ask if you have a fellow neighbor who walks up and provides a statement, if you could just be mindful of how many people are in here to speak. So just kind of, if it's been said, just say that you agree with it and kind of go for it so we can get through this pretty quickly. But I do acknowledge that we have a lot of letters that have been provided already, and at this point, I would like to open it up to anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the petition. And everyone, if you could just introduce yourself and provide your address before you speak in favor. Thank you.
My name's Lawrence McGahee. I live at 7 Videtta Street. I've been a resident for 15 years up in Peabody. I've been going to Easy Market since they bought it. Prior to that, there were several different owners. And what I learned from going to this store is the owners that have it now, it's become a community store. I'm a police officer. I've been a police officer for 27 years just outside of Boston. I understand the challenges that come with having liquor at a store and being trustworthy and understanding what comes with that in the neighborhood. I trust these people doing the right thing. It's become a store where you walk in and you know everybody. You know the employees, you know the customers, and it's nice to have that. The other owners who had it prior to that, you didn't feel that. So I just wanted to make my opinion known. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the petition?
Good. My name's Tom D'Amato. I live at 14 Samoset Road. As a longtime friend and patron, I wish to speak on behalf and in support of Sammy and near me here this evening. I don't pretend to know all the details of the indiscretions, but I was satisfied to hear that they atoned for their miscues and made arrangements so that it doesn't happen again. I know them to be honorable and decent people, hardworking, loved by the neighbors, loved by the other customers. They put out a tremendous product. They work hard. And in closing, I'd like to leave you with some advice I got from Fred Murtagh many years ago. He said, Thomas, upon entering public service, if you start from the premise that you're in the business of helping people, you'll never go wrong. So bearing that in mind, I'm asking that you give them every consideration this evening as you make a decision. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Tui. This is Denise Swift. We live right on Pine Street. We've been there for 9 years now. And since Sammy and Nomeen opened up E-Market, every time we walked in the store, big smiles, hi, how are you? And they're just wonderful people. The people that owned it before, you'd say hi to them and they wouldn't talk to you. They treat people like family. They're just wonderful, and I support them to get the liquor license.
But she said.
What she said? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody, councilman, all of you guys. I'm a nurse. I don't know how this works. So I live across. My name is Paula Krasma. I live right across the street, 4 Johnson Street. These two individuals are probably some of the best individuals I've ever met in my life. And the reason why I can say that is, even after all the crap that goes along, I had breast cancer last year, and I had a big giant surgery, and they're the ones who came and checked on me. They're stand-up people. I have lived in Peabody all of my life. I was born here. I mean, I went to Peabody High. Like, I'm from here. And they deserve the opportunity to better their business because they deserve it. So my whole point of being here is because I live directly across. So lights come in, like when people park in the lot across, it affects me. I'm not affected by this. I'm not afraid, like what the gentleman said before. I'm not afraid about you have beer and liquor. Like there's this fear that what it brings to it. I'm not afraid of that. They will handle it. They handled when there was adversity, when they had a vape and they didn't know it. They serve that. They will do that. So that's I feel as a person who abuts them, across from them, I feel that they will represent. They'll represent Peabody. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Joe Selinger. I live at 11 Belfast Road, and I'm a customer of the market. I go there every morning to meet a few of the guys. We hang around, we play some Keno, have a lot of fun. The owners of the store, Nermeen and Sammy, are two of the best people you ever want to meet. They're welcoming, they're honest, hardworking. You wouldn't find two better people to represent the city of Peabody. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hi. I'm Scott Gadboys. I live at 20 Brookwood Lane in Danvers, but I am very fortunate to be their business neighbors. I own the casual cut salon right next door with my wife. I've had a lot of salons, here and there. Best neighbors ever. Polite, always a smile, always shaking your hand, always helping us shoveling, helping us clean up messes that I made. They're just the most polite people that you're going to meet in your life, probably. I equate it to a convenience store that I go to up in New Hampshire where it's out in the middle of nowhere, and everyone just knows everyone, and everyone just hangs around and has a good time with each other. That's what they're kind of growing there with the way they are. My wife and I do approve of it to be our neighbor, to add beer and wine to our little plaza. We think it'll increase our visibility, so that'll be good for us as well. Let's see, I've been in the store, several times, of course. As of late, I've noticed, because I was out for a little while because I had a surgery, as of late, I've noticed that they card everybody for cigarettes, because I hang out and talk. It doesn't matter if you're a young person or an old person. In fact, today, they sent a woman that was quite a bit older than me out to her car to get her ID. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to do the right thing. Just like this other individual here, I'm also a former police officer. And I'm confident that from what I've been seeing and how these people are, that I think it's going to work out just fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, councils. Joel Sasslaw, 21 Benevento Circle, Peabody, Mass. I frequent the store myself. I've gotten to know Sammy and Normeen. And when they talked to me a little bit about what they wanted to do, I really said to them, you know, it's important that you get along with your neighbors and that they understand that. And I remember years ago, we tried to put an ice cream shop in the same facility, and it wasn't that easy. But to see these people come out, I don't think I can add to anything that they've said. People taking time out of their personal lives to come out and support them. And I think the fact that they acknowledge what they've been through, they want to be here a long time, they're good neighbors, they're engaged in the community, and as I said, you know, it's not that often that you have customers. You know, usually you think of a convenience store, there's not really a relationship. But I think from what you've seen tonight, these people do have relationships with their customers, and they're just trying to make a living. It's not easy for everybody, and this is just another way to do it. And just as a side note, when it comes to alcohol, package stores, you know, west of Sue Chang's, we only have two. We have one T&L Liquors, and then we have another one at Lake Street Plaza, the Giovanni's. So I know there's a concentration of beer and wine in Peabody, and I think, I don't want to get into the whole desirable local need, but I do think it would be a good addition to West Peabody and a convenience for the residents that surround it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Last call, seeing none. Anyone on Zoom would like to speak in favor? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition this evening? Seeing none. Anyone on Zoom would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, thank you. This makes it so easy to be able to support this. I frequent the store as well, and I've seen over the years, the many years of the places that we've had in there. The last one was probably Skip that really had a relationship, and that was in the early 90s when he owned the store. They've done a lot of work there, and what makes it welcoming to me is that the neighbors, the abutters, years ago, we were approached to get a liquor license, and the neighbors were not in favor of it. And it was primarily because they didn't have a relationship with the owners. So with that being said, I'm happy that you have treated the community as your community. And there is a local need. You do deserve, you've been through a lot, you deserve to be able to increase your sales and your business and reap the benefits of that. I'm so happy to see that you got the machine for the IDs. I think that is probably the biggest investment you're gonna make, not only for the alcohol, but for the tobacco as well. And I have no reservations in approving this. And I'd open it up to the rest of the council if there's no other questions, and I'll continue from there.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Any other Councilor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start off saying that I actually go to the store too. I was there last night. I did not win the Powerball, but none of us did. None of us did. So, but all the things that were said, friendly place, you know, and it's a great business. But from my perspective, as a counselor and a resident, I want to support businesses, small and large. You know, that's what we try to do. My concern is that the tobacco regulations are fairly straightforward. It's the most recent one from July was not the notice that was given. There's been several of them, and I don't have an issue with the sale of alcohol. It's been legislated and rules have been in place for almost a century. But my issue is I didn't see the compliance follow through with the sale of tobacco, and we had the issues with the vaping. Personally, I would rather be in support of this, you know, broadening to offer, you know, sale of alcohol after we see a lengthier period of compliance. I'd rather see this go out 12 months, no issues. They come before us and said, we've complied with everything that we do in our business day to day. No selling to minors, no vaping, all the things that have been, you know, done. There were several violations. That to me would be a better step forward than saying they're great people, they're gonna get it now. You know, I just don't want to fool with it. It's not a moral issue. Once again, we've got alcohol being sold all over the city. It's highly legislated, but we are talking about the sale of minors. It's important. So I won't be supporting this tonight. I would support it in a period of 12 months after they've complied with the current laws that are in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understand Councilor O'Neill's vantage point on this, but and that was my initial thought when I first saw this come forward. I met Sammy and one of his employees, Red, yesterday, just to see exactly how they're going about doing business at this point. In the system they talk about, we have at Logan Airport. There's also in Ward 2, Councilman McGinn, at the gas station next to Holden's. What is that? A Shell station. They have the same system, so I know well. When you purchase cigarettes or any product that requires underage, and not to mention, this was not an underage violation, by the way, so I only mention this because they went out of their way to make changes above and beyond what really happened there. And you scan your ID for any product that requires an age, and it locks out the computer until that barcode on the back of that license is approved. So they can't proceed with the transaction. So, and that was, like I said, above and beyond where they needed to be, because there was no sale to an underage individual. In this case, it was a vape product. I do disagree with Councilor O'Neill in the sense that the flavored vapes and the flavored tobaccos, these are all new guidelines that have come out in the last 18 months to 2 years with the what's allowed for. I mean, I think menthol cigarettes you can't even sell in Massachusetts anymore. That's maybe even a year old, maybe more. So the rules have changed drastically over the last couple of years. And I became more concerned with the fact that we have a distributor that knows that this product is not allowed, yet brought it to a convenience store. And yes, they are the business owners, they should know, but the distributor brings 16 cases of items for the store, and they assume that they could put them on the shelf. Otherwise, why are we even able to sell it in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Or why is that distributor able to have it? So I think it was an oversight. I consider myself a very good judge of character. I met these people yesterday, and immediately I took a liking to them. I stayed with them for about 20 minutes to watch their interaction with the customers. I watched them use the license machine for every transaction for any tobacco product. And then additionally, they committed to the fact that any new tobacco product that comes into that store, they will vet through the Board of Health. Each and every one. So with that commitment, I don't see any issue with alcohol. They've paid $6,100. That's not a small amount. That's one to teach you a lesson very quickly. And I believe this mistake won't happen again. And some of the people that spoke here are very reputable in this city. And I'm going to say I'll support this 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. We're going to go Councilor Rosenthal and Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I absolutely appreciate the story of the petitioner and all of the support that the residents have spoken so eloquently. I frequent there. My job is to travel around all day, so I go into a lot of convenience stores. My one question through you, Mr. President, to the petitioner is, this wasn't one violation. This wasn't 2 violations, this wasn't 3 violations, it was more than 4 in 36 months. So my question actually is, why did it take so long to put in these great measures, to put in the scanner, to me, if I do something incorrectly, I go, okay, well, what do I need to do to better myself? How do I figure this out? A second time, it's like, okay, all right, I screwed up again. Let me talk to Sharon Cameron. Let me have her come in. Tell me what I can have. Tell me what I can't have. So, and it's really a question. Why did it take so many violations to implement these safeguards?
There were only 2 violations. But the first of them came by inheriting inventory from the people they bought it from. The violation that we paid the large fine for recently turned out to be really, I think that Councilor Turco hit the nail on the head where we have manufacturers that bring these things out and say they're fully compliant. We now have come to understand you can't trust them. So the goal now is there's one vape device that's already been vetted by the Board of Health, and any other vape device that we even consider we're going to bring to the Board of Health to have them tell us that it's capable of being sold, that it complies.
And I appreciate that response because it is the product seller to sell their product. So they're going to bend any rule that they can. So I completely understand that. Just in the paperwork here, it says, you know, fourth violation within 36 months, period, and that's why there's a $5,000 fine. So I'm going off of the paperwork that it said that there was more than two with the box that's checked. That's why I'm asking these questions.
I think the other violations were not under the operation of Nermeen and St. Bishoy, but may have been at that address.
That's fair. See, now that makes sense to me. So I appreciate your response. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rosendahl. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the concerns expressed by my councilors that are in opposition or may be in opposition, because prior to this evening, I was leaning towards opposing this, but I've taken a complete 180 on this after hearing the presentation and hearing more facts on the matter. The issues that they had were related to tobacco and vaping. And they made some mistakes and they got whacked. They got whacked with a $6,000 fine and a suspension. So that's pretty serious. But what they're coming forward tonight is for something, for alcohol for a package store. And they put in an expensive machine that is going to card everybody. And again, it wasn't selling tobacco products or vaping products to underage people, yet that machine that they put in is going to help card those that are going in to buy tobacco products, in addition to carding them for alcohol products. So that's an improvement. And they just, I don't know them. I have not been to E-Market. I will be checking it out from the accolades that I heard this evening. It's something that you never hear from a convenience store. You know, someone didn't want to mention desirable local need, but it is a desirable local need. People like to go to a package store, buy their beer or wine or their cocktails near their homes. And there isn't any out there are very few out in West Peabody, whereas downtown is saturated with package stores. There's a package store in every corner downtown, and South Peabody has their package stores. So I think that, you know, again, I've been convinced that I think that this would be a good addition. I also know that throughout the years on the council that location is very difficult for people to make a business there and to make it successful and to last. And if the neighborhood and the abutters are embracing them and really supportive of them, then they have to be doing something right that has brought people out to support them. And I really think, although they did get fined for other matters, that they've learned from their mistakes, and given that it is a local desirable need, I don't see a reason to deny this special permit. So again, I've come a complete 180 on this one, and I'm going to support the special permit for a package store for these folks. And I do plan to go check out E-Market, because it has to be, if it's half as good as the neighborhood is saying, you know, it's got to be a great stop. So I do support this.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Peach and Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say, we have a business before us. They broke the rules knowingly or unknowingly. I think the tobacco regulations, they have recently changed, and they are very complicated. what's hemp, what's tobacco, I have no idea. What can you sell, what can't you sell? I don't even know if you have to be 21 to buy tobacco yet. Is that a new rule? But anyway, I digress. They came and they owned their mistake, whether they did it intentionally or not. I think they were issued a fine. They paid the fine, a hefty fine, on top of a 30-day suspension. They didn't make excuses for themselves. They said, okay, we did something wrong, and these are the steps we're going to take to fix it. I think the card scanner is just a great, addition that has nothing to do with the violations, but I do think committing to, vetting your products through the Board of Health is just a great way to stay, in the green. I wish we had neighbors come out and speak in support for businesses when they came before us, like you had your customers come out. Normally we have a crowd like this because they're mad, and this has been fantastic. I think I was in this convenience store long before it was E-Mart. I don't live in West Peabody, so I don't know what it was when I was in high school, but maybe I'll stop by after the soccer game this weekend. But I think you have a fabulous business. I welcome you to Peabody. If you ever want to open a convenience store in Ward 3, we would welcome you with open arms. So I will be in support of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. A hot tip to all the parents out there that allow their children to drink the Prime drink. That was my first experience at E-Market. I went and sought Prime because you couldn't get it anywhere else, and they sold it at a reasonable price. Rather than $7, I got it for $3. They were very friendly, very welcoming, helped me find a variety of flavors. I think there is a need for that in this neighborhood, and I do like to see the package stores spread out among the city. If we had the same number of people come up and speak in favor, I might have changed my mind, but I think especially in this case, there's a little bit of extra security in the sense that not only do they need a special permit, they have to still go before the licensing board to get their license through them. So if there were to be a violation, we could call them in, and the licensing board could call them in. And then the health also deals with them with tobacco. So there are a lot of eyes on this and making sure that all the rules are followed and that it's safe and no one is at harm. So I 100% support this, and I won't try to poach them to Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Any other councilors on this? I just had a clarifying question, Attorney Kelty. We've referenced this a number of different ways, both as a package store and beer and wine. Could you please specify what? Beer and wine. Beer and wine only?
Yes.
Okay, and there's no intention to sell liquor beyond beer and wine?
No.
Okay. And then I understand Councilor O'Neill's concern. I do think the business owner is responsible for understanding what they're selling. I do appreciate that they've taken corrective measure to ensure that it doesn't happen again. And they seem like wonderful people and obviously have the support of the community behind them. I would, feel more comfortable if we had in the motion obviously if there's an issue that we're gonna, that the petitioners know that we would bring them back for a show cause hearing if there's any violations, whether it be for tobacco or for alcohol that is not appropriately sold. I think it's obviously they've learned a lesson, but I want to make sure that we're clear that we take this very serious, that they're selling the products that they're supposed to be selling in the correct manner. So with that, otherwise I definitely would be in favor of this, the motion. Any other councilors on this matter? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Councilor, you heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, I'm very happy to make this motion. The application from St. Bishoy, Inc., 598 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to allow for a retail store for packaged alcoholic beverages in a BN zoning district at 598 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance, with the liquor sales hour of operations 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sundays, which is what we do here for the state. So I just wanted to put that in there to make sure that they understand the hours of operation. And that would be it.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. On the motion, Councilor Manning Martin.
Yes, through you to Councilor Gamache. The application, because there was confusion, it does say for packaged alcoholic beverages, but since they're, that's kind of a general, but do you want to say beer and wine?
Site-specific beer and wine.
Yeah, because I think that'll alleviate some of the councilors' concerns.
To correct the motion, it would be for packaged alcoholic beverages being beer and wine in accordance with the zone. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you for clarifying, Councilor Manning Martin. On the motion, on the amended motion, is there any discussion? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Gamache, the President's suggestion about adding alleged violations that would be subject to a show cause. Do you want to add that, Councilor?
I think we can't do it with the tobacco sales because this has nothing to do with tobacco sales. But if there is a violation, there is the possibility of a show cause hearing. That would come from the Liquor Licensing Board. There's their recommendation to us that there was a violation. So if there is a violation, we could bring them back for show cause hearing.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn, and thank you, Councilor Gamache, for clarifying. Any other discussion on this matter? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Nope.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Yes.
And carries.
Thank you, councilors.
Hold on, check. Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 4E, a special permit for 180 Newberry LLC. Clerk will now read the notice.
No, it's a
Continuation.
If I may,
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Yes, you may.
I'd like to go to item 8B under suspension of the rules and move to receive the request for the automotive repair shop and move that to,
Could you just amend to receive and approve?
motion to receive and approve the application, the request. And that would be with item C as well. 8C under suspension of rules for the next one.
We're gonna, the clerk just confirmed, we're gonna keep those separate for the next hearing. I know it's the same property, but we're gonna keep, yep. So the motion from Councilor Gamache was to receive and approve the request, item 8B from Attorney John Kelty on behalf of 180 Newberry Street. Councilor McGinn on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the motion, I guess similar to Councilor
My letter asks November 9. Because of the discussion we just had, maybe it makes more sense to go to 16.
It's the 21st.
If I may.
Or 21, I'm sorry, 21.
Councilor McGinn, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I guess similar to Councilor Peach's earlier question regarding another matter, what's your confidence level, Attorney Kelty, that by the 21st of November, this will actually be resolved? I mean, would it be a more appropriate action to withdraw this? And
On the two matters that are 180, I'm not before any other board. I've got a tenant in the building who ought not be there. My client, this evening's client, inherited that situation. We provided eviction notice. and tried to assist her vacating the premises. She's not been reluctant to do so. There's no place to go. We're trying to assist her in obtaining housing. I'm not sure she's going to have it by whatever the date I first asked for, November 9. So I'm suggesting now that 16 might put us, or 21 would put me in better shape. I'm not waiting for any other committee's review. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to say our tenant has left the premises.
So I understand that. Thank you for that response. Do you have a reasonable confidence level that by the 21st of November? Is there something in the works?
Yes, there's been a petition before the Peabody Housing Authority and Danvers Housing Authority, and my client has offered financial assistance in getting there, and we're hopeful that she'll complete the qualification for either of the housing authorities, and my client is more than willing to provide whatever financial assistance might be necessary. So, yes, I'm okay.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, I don't have the confidence in saying that November 21st is going to be the date. I'd like to go to at least the first meeting in December on this matter, if it's possible. I don't know what the agenda looks like for the first meeting in December.
Clerk Danforth, could you weigh in on this, please?
Yes, Counselor. So we can go to that date, but just be mindful that we'll have a new council in January. So if he doesn't move forward on that date, he'll have to withdraw.
And that would fall upon the petitioner to do so. I'm trying to save the council another, ream of paper for Allison to put out. So I'd ask for the first week in December, the first meeting in December, if there's no problems. December 14th?
December 14th, and just to clarify, that's the only meeting we have in December.
That works, I think, it gives them a little bit more time to move the paperwork forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors,
through you, Mr. President,
ahead.
Councilor Gamache, we're going to have him renotice the abutters?
Yes,
again on this
renotice
also?
the abutters, please.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. So the motion to recap is that we would reschedule for December 14th, and the petitioner would be responsible for renoticing all the abutters. On that motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Minnie Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, councilors. Moving on to item 8F, special permit 180 Newberry LLC. The clerk will now read the notice. Councilor Gamache.
I would move on suspension of the rules, go to receive item 8C, and grant the petitioner the request to continue this matter to December 14th. So move.
Could you amend that to renotice the abutters as well?
And add the renotification of the abutters. So moved.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Minnie Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Yeah.
Mr. President, if we could take item, it is item 10A out of order, if there's no objection from the council. We have a lot of people here, including some department heads and the mayor, and our state representative delegation to speak on this issue.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Any opposition? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote.
Thank you very much, President. So, Mr. President, so most of you know this has been on our agenda for about since July of 2020. We ran into some COVID issues in the meantime. One thing I want to correct before I even begin is that this was a co-motion with Councilor Gould, and it should say Councilor Gamache on there. Somehow they got lost in the translation throughout all the continuances. So I wanted to just recognize that Councilor Gamache was a big proponent of this and was very helpful in putting it forward. This was brought to me, like I said, back in July of 2020. It's a responsible employer ordinance, sometimes known as a prevailing wage ordinance, sometimes known as a wage theft ordinance. Was brought to me by Jeff Saliba from the Heat and Frost Insulators Union, Local 6. One very similar to it had just passed in the Medford area. Had been fully vetted by the union attorneys as well as the Medford attorneys, and it was deemed legal. When Jeff first brought this to me, you know, I wear two hats. I'm a 30-year labor guy. I've been in the Teamsters Union for 30 years. I'm also a city councilor in the city of Peabody, so my job is to advocate for labor at 100%, but also to make sure that work within the city is fair and equitable to all our residents. So what I saw you know, I wanted to make sure, and unfortunately, I had 2.5 years to discuss this with Jeff and make sure that you know, this wasn't just solely for the benefit of one group. I would personally be happy with that as a union member, but I understand the needs of the city. So with that said, this ordinance, it's a little different than your standard wage theft ordinance. You'll see recently in Salem and Lynn, they've passed, Salem as little as last week, passed a wage theft ordinance. And after watching their meetings and seeing this pass, because I've had the opportunity to watch dozens of these over the last few months, well, few years actually, I saw that this responsible employer ordinance is marketably different, where it's not inclusive of all businesses within the city. This just is a beginning for us, I believe, where it addresses any business that the city does, and it ensures that the city takes the lead in opposition to any wage theft. And wage theft, for those of you that don't know, but I think you do, is pretty prominent in the trades, where cities and towns pay prevailing wage. Bidders bid for the work, and you know, they bid it. Some are able to lowball a price, knowing that they're going to hire some of their employees under the table or not qualified fully for the work that they're doing, and pay them a lower rate while still billing the city for the prevailing wage. If the city's not very thorough in looking through all that documentation, that's wage theft. It happens in the private sector quite a bit with restaurateurs and convenience stores, as a matter of fact, and that's why I was a little regretful that I didn't include some of the language in the Salem ordinance, but I'll address that at the end. We're here now for this responsible employer ordinance, and that's what I'm going to move forward with. You'll see in the packet a number of cities and towns that have put these forward. The initial one, I believe, was the city of Worcester, was way back in 2012. Worcester put that forward. It passed through their council. They heard a lot of probably what you're going to hear tonight. We have our purchasing director and our finance director and the mayor. You may hear some, you know, concerns about this, and I vetted these concerns. I've looked at all these responsible employer ordinances, Medford, Worcester, Somerville, Somerset. You'll see the synopsis that my eldest daughter was nice enough to put together to me on somewhere around page 6 or 7, with all the cities and towns that have these and the requirements that they put forth. And they all have what's called an apprenticeship clause. And the apprenticeship clause essentially says that anybody that wants to do work within the city of Peabody, their employees shall participate in a bona fide apprenticeship program. And therein lies where most people, and I believe some in this room, would probably say, well, that benefits labor. Well, if you go to the Department of Labor website and you look up bona fide apprenticeship programs within the state of Massachusetts, you'll see hundreds and hundreds. And it's roughly about 40% of those are organized labor. The other 60% are open shops. anybody can participate in a certified trade program. And what finally sold me on this, and the biggest sale here, was when I spoke to Heidi Riccio, the superintendent of Essex Tech. And I said, you know, we were actually talking about a different issue. And I said, Heidi, do you have any certified bona fide trade programs at Essex Tech? And she said, I certainly do. She said, we have our plumbers program, we have our electrician program, and we have our laborers program, all certified through the Department of Labor. And I looked at some few others. You know, the reason why Councilor Gould and Councilor Gamache were on this motion is Councilor Gamache is in, I believe it's the pipe fitters, sprinkler fitter, excuse me. And Councilor Gould, as a former GE employee, can attest to the apprenticeship programs that were brought forth with some of the machinists over at GE in his time there, and the experience that he has with them. So when I saw that the vocational schools had these apprenticeship, it was the final thing for me, because these are our kids that are graduating that now have an opportunity, and you'll see some of these young guys out in the crowd here with Local 6, that they have an opportunity to get good wages, prevailing wages. Yes, in this case, union wages, which are oftentimes the same as prevailing wage, and for the most part, prevailing wages set off of union wages. So with that being said, I thought this was a great thing. I could talk forever on this, and I will answer any question of any counselor. I feel like, you know, I've had so much time to look at this. I have, like I said, there's probably nothing I can't answer about these. With that said, we have some other people here, including the mayor and the state delegation, that wanted to speak on this. So I'm going to defer, and if anybody would like me to come back to answer any questions, I will do that. But you know I'm passionate about this ordinance. We also have Yusuf from the North Shore Labor Council here also, who worked diligently on both the Lynn and the Salem ordinances. And ultimately, I'll end with this. My intention at the end of this, with a hopeful passage, and I'm hoping for a unanimous passage by this board, is to refer the Salem ordinance to legal affairs to see what portions of that, if not all of it, that we can add to this ordinance to make it better and to broaden it to cover all of our residents within the city. And I think that was actually suggested to me by the mayor, but I'll let the mayor speak for himself on that. So thank you very much. And Mr. President, you know, you can proceed with either the mayor, obviously would be first, I guess, and then I was hoping you'd let Mr. Salima from Local 6 speak, and any other union member that would like to.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilor Turco. We'll start with Mr. Mayor, and we'll move forward from there, but everyone will have the opportunity to speak. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, before you speak, can we get a motion to receive late communication 3? Anybody? Thank you, Councilman McGinn. All in favor, any opposed, let's vote. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Council. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. I want to thank Councilor Turco for bringing this forward tonight for discussion and potentially a vote. Like Jim Noel, actually not as much as Councilor Turco, but I've spent a great deal of time over the last couple of weeks in particular reading a number of ordinances, trying to learn as much as I can about these issues that have been presented so we could have a real discussion on them, from wage theft to employer responsible ordinance, as much as I can in terms of all the other cities and towns. And there are a number that have had that, and others that are, I think, in the process of doing very similar to what we're taking up today. I'm very much in favor of the spirit of this ordinance, and I'll break that down a little bit more for everybody. But in terms of what this is seeking to do is really fundamental to what we do as a city. We need to, as elected officials, ensure efficient use of taxpayer dollars, minimize waste wherever we can, promote worker safety, and fair treatment and pay of workers. That's all essential to the work we do, and it's something that certainly at City Hall, we're always trying to make sure we hold our contractors, people that do work for the city, accountable and making sure they're doing the right things. But certainly things happen. Certainly there's been times where, most times we have workers and companies that do the right thing. But certainly I think there's been moments in different projects where I've questioned certain things that are taking place. And I think this ordinance addresses a lot of those concerns and things that worry me. I watched the hearing the other day at the Salem City Council regarding the wage theft ordinance. I am in 100% agreement with that ordinance. I would be willing to vote on that. Councilor Turco and I talked earlier. I do think it's important to bring that forward very soon, to have that brought forward. I think it's similar to the one over in Lynn as well, but the Salem one I was very much in favor of, and I thought really hit a lot of key points. There might be some small adjustments, but very much in favor of that. There have been some concerns about the apprenticeship program that have been brought to me by Dan Doucette, our purchasing agent, and I hope that he has the opportunity to speak, just so make sure everybody gets a full understanding of those issues that he brought forward, and certainly with his experience, I think need to be heard. But I think there's a lot of positives to what's being proposed here. And things that I think need to be addressed in the city of Peabody. Councilor Turco has been talking about this now for a couple of years, and I know there's been some bumps in the road and delays. Some of that has been my fault, some of it's just been circumstances. I feel I would love to have one more meeting, but I also think that we have to move things along that's been brought up, because I do think we could come up with a comprehensive ordinance that might address some of or all of the needs of the city, and of making sure we're doing the right thing. Dan Doucette will be speaking today on a number of items. I do want to apologize because it was always the intent to provide these arguments to you beforehand. I thought that we'd have the opportunity in the subcommittee. That didn't happen, so I think that kind of threw us off a little bit. I think what Dan will speak about, I think will be things that fully understandable, but we should have been able to get that to you beforehand, so it could have been addressed. But I wanted to speak to that. There's a lot of positives here, things I think we as a city need, and looking forward to trying to work through these items. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think maybe for the order of this, if Mr. Saliba could come up, and then we can go forward after that. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and providing your address, Mr. Saliba.
Hi, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, councilors. My name's Jeff Saliba. I'm a city Peabody resident. I'm at 1801 Hollow Tree Court. I'm also the business manager for the Heat and Frost Insulators, Local 6. The cities and towns are starting to take advantage of the federal bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. At the same time, inflation, interest rates, prices remain high, which opens the door for many contractors to pad their pockets and make massive profits on the backs of local residents by cutting corners. As residents of Peabody, we must ensure that businesses building in our community do not take advantage of taxpayers and deliver quality service. This new ordinance, co-sponsored by Councilors Turco and Gamache, will require all new public projects under Chapter 149, 149A to hire trained apprentices and mechanics if they want to do business in the city of Peabody. Following such responsible employee practices when spending taxpayer money on contracted services will ensure tax dollars are spent responsibly, while maintaining high standards of workmanship and keeping unscrupulous shady businesses owners accountable. This ordinance will not cost the taxpayers any more than it does now under the prevailing wage laws. In fact, requiring a registered apprenticeship program is an important requirement for federal infrastructure funding. If cities and private builders use 15% registered apprentices and prevailing wage, public and private buildings will be able to save up to 30% on energy efficient construction and building improvements under the Federal Inflation Reduction Act. Requiring registered apprenticeships on a local level ensures that substantial federal savings are secured. It only serves to guarantee the taxpayers will get what they pay for. This new ordinance sets minimum requirements for all contractors who want to bid on publicly funded projects in our city, which would verify the contractor is a bona fide business with a good track record when it comes to following local, state, and federal laws, and that these contractors participate in a certified apprenticeship training program, which ultimately helps local workers earn better pay and essential benefits like affordable health care. As a longtime resident of Peabody, I want to know that my tax dollars are being spent responsibly. Requiring contractors to hire highly trained workers who have completed apprenticeships will keep construction costs at reasonable levels and fight bad business practices like shady contractors padding their bills, stealing wages, and exploiting workers. Wage theft is more common than armed robbery in the U.S. and is 3 times as costly to the economy. Here in Massachusetts, wage theft costs individual workers more than $1 billion a year in earned wages. This ordinance lets me know that Peabody is part of the solution and not complicit in the problem when it comes to wage theft, and is supporting local hiring that ensures good family sustaining jobs and wages. It will prohibit unscrupulous contractors from hiring and exploiting undocumented workers. A growing number of municipalities across the state, from Worcester to Brockton, Somerville, have passed responsible similar contractor ordinance in recent years, which assures that qualified contractors will be bidding on local work. Any contractor can bid, providing they meet these requirements. Amherst, Boston, East Hampton, Salem, Lynn, New Bedford, Northampton, Quincy, and Springfield have all passed ordinances to protect local workers and residents. Communities throughout the state have adopted such ordinances as a way to promote high construction standards. In 2015, Framingham adopted construction standards for all contractors working within the city, and followed up in 2021 with a new wage theft ordinance that established a Workers' Protection Advocacy Committee to review any complaints from local job sites, as well as require contractors to prioritize hiring employees from the Framingham area. It deters contractors from trying to lowball bids by shirking their responsibility to provide decent pay and benefits for their workers and meet the statutory provisions, and to ensure the taxpayer receives what they paid for. This ordinance will lead to an increase in hiring of skilled workers in Peabody, improve standards for construction projects, and is good for the environment because it reduces the risks of unscrupulous businesses cutting corners on environmental regulations. It will also demonstrate that Peabody will do everything in its power to keep workers from being stolen from and ensure the taxpayers are getting what they paid for. I say this because workers who have finished an apprenticeship program are working in a trade they have made a career. It's not just a day job to them. They know what they're paid. They know what they're supposed to get paid. So let's get behind a common sense ordinance that will promote local construction standards, improve our infrastructure, and building safety, reduce turnover costs for contractors, provide value for taxpayers, and safeguard wages and working conditions for workers without costing the taxpayer one dime more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Saliba. Is there any questions for Mr. Saliba at this time? Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to correct the record, Mr. Saliba. I was in favor. I was on the co-motion with Councilor Turco and Councilor Gamache.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm an apprentice grad from the General Electric employee aircraft engine group, and just had a wonderful career, and I'm 100% behind the apprentice program and what you're pushing for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Any other councilors at this time? Thank you, Mr. Saliba. Representative Kearns or Representative Walsh, would you like to join us up here?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, councilors. Councilor Turco, Mr. President, I could really settle in for a visit. I'm not going to do that, much as I would like to. It's great to see everyone. I just wanted to lend my support to this ordinance. I was rather flabbergasted to find the extent of wage theft in our state. It is completely un-American to me that you hire someone and then they work their 40 hours, but you don't pay them for the 40. You pay for some, or you don't pay them at all. And it's a very real, very known problem. And when you have something like this ordinance in place, apprenticeship programs can protect. We want our young people to go into the trades. We want them to have career ladders. We want employers and contractors to pay their workers' comp, to properly insure, to have the highest safety standards. This kind of an ordinance will help with that. And the apprenticeship programs are a way of establishing credentialing so that there are those good career paths. I think Jeff said it, I forget which hearing I was in, $1 billion worth of wages. That means people who have worked and they were not paid. And you can debate how it gets to that point, but the fact remains we do have unscrupulous, some unscrupulous employers, and they are taking advantage, just plain exploiting vulnerable people, and they need to work, they need to eat, and they wind up vulnerable. So by adopting an ordinance like this, and I hope that we pass the wage theft legislation up at the State House, and we did a wonderful wage transparency bill about 2 weeks ago. It was the Francis Perkins Workplace Equity Act, and it was kind of building on the the Equal Pay for Equal Work law of 2016. So there's work to be done in this arena, and I can think of no better way than for a city to adopt an ordinance saying, this is what we expect, these are the standards that we'll adhere to. So I'll let Tom take it from there. I just did want to, if I could, just for a second, we're in a terrible time. The whole world, we are all watching in complete horror at what Hamas has done in Israel. I know every single person in this room it stands against hate and anti-Semitism, stands with Israel at this time. And I know that Peabody is a community that will stand together, always, always together against hate and anti-Semitism. And my heart goes out to people in the community who might have family or friends in Israel. And I know we're all thinking about that right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kearns. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. If I could, on that, you know, the sad tragedy that's taking place across the world, I did want to mention, take this moment to say that we are going to be having a prayer service here at Peabody City Hall on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Peabody Clergy and Ministerial Association and I met yesterday to plan. It will be a very brief prayer and coming together moment. I wanted to make sure everybody here knew, and to take the moment while we were on television to get that word out. This coming Wednesday at 4 p.m. right in front of Peabody City Hall, we'll be doing a prayer service and thinking of those in Israel. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Representative Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, councilors. I'm going to be very brief. I would like to be recorded in favor of this ordinance and congratulate the council for bringing this ordinance forward for discussion. I like the apprentice program piece of this in particular, and I know that there has been concern from some people about perhaps fewer people bidding on jobs because of the requirements listed in this ordinance. But I look at that sometimes as a positive, because maybe we're weeding out some of the contractors that we ought not be hiring, and maybe we can be reassured that the contractors that we do hire for our public projects in this community are upstanding and making sure that their work is quality and the buildings are going to last. You know, one of the things, I hate to say this as being the old guy around here and having sat here many years ago, not you, Councilor Gamache, but, you know, some of the decisions that you make 30 years ago are important in the actions taken then are experienced today. So the actions that you are taking today are going to be experienced by a constituency that may not yet be born. So I think this is incredibly important and beneficial to the community in the long run. So I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Representative Walsh. Before we open up to Purchasing Agent Doucette or Mr. Gindras, I don't know if there's anyone else who would like to speak this evening. If you could just, for the record, provide your name and address.
Check, check. All right, great. Yusuf Abdullah, I'm an outsider, 76 Draper Street, Boston. I'm the director of the North Shore Labor Council, which is a coalition of 51 unions across the North Shore. We've had the pleasure of working with many of you here today, and we're excited to work with you on this ordinance. So I've been really appreciative of the words around the Salem Wage Theft Ordinance, which was about a 1.5 year, 2-year-long process passing that. We also passed the Lynn Wage Theft Ordinance, and while they were amazing feats that have already saved thousands of hours of work and wages, there's a big hole, and that hole is the responsible employer ordinance. Right now, we're talking about putting that into the Salem and Lynn wage shift ordinance because we need it. I'm not going to go on for minutes because my brother Jeff Saliba and the two state reps perfectly covered what this ordinance does, but we need this. We're seeing across the North Shore and in Peabody workers who have no training getting onto the job and taking on some perilous work. Let's get these kids some apprenticeship programs. Let's make sure that they're trained and working to build the buildings that we teach our kids in, have our loved ones be healed on in hospitals, right? Let's make sure that it's produced safely for both the people inhabiting the buildings and the people working on the buildings.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who'd like to speak? All right, Mr. Doucette or Mr. Gindras?
Good evening, councilors. For the record, my name is Daniel Doucette. I'm the city's purchasing agent, a resident of 3 Essex Green Lane in Peabody. I've been purchasing agent for the city for 42 years. As part of my state association, I've been a past president, and for over 20 years, I was the legislative director for the Mass Association of Public Purchasing Officials. I was asked as that in that office to sit by two governors on two different construction reform panels, one by a Democratic governor, another by a Republican governor. And I was privileged to see both sides of a number of these issues played out in the legislative process as to how these things can be dealt with at the state level. One of the two panels that I sat on dealt extensively with what were called bad actors. And how do you define bad actors? And what do bad actors do on public construction projects? I've kind of taken that into the comments that I have. I do have a one-page summary of some of the points that I have, and the mayor explained why you may not have received that until now, and if I could, I'd like to distribute this to the councilors to have as a summary of my
Motion to
remarks.
receive, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote.
And I'd be happy to have a copy of this for the proponent of this from the local union and another resident of the city. But as was discussed tonight, I think if you read the ordinance carefully, it is unclear as to exactly what construction we're talking about. First of all, I'm looking for some direction as to what construction are we talking about. Is it Chapter 149 and 149A, which are building construction projects? And it says that in a couple of places, but in another couple of places it talks broadly and could involve road construction, utility construction, and then we get into the issue of exactly what contracts and trades fall under the definitions in the ordinance as written concerning subcontractors. And I would tell you, the bigger the project, the more levels and tiers there are on public buildings. There's not just the filed subbid tier at 149, Chapter 44F, and that's not, it's in the ordinance in several places, but I will tell you that is the filed subbid law, which does apply to the trade by the proponent that spoke to you earlier, but there are other suppliers, major components of a building project that are not filed subbids, but that are and could be considered under the definitions or the way that the contract is, the ordinance is presently constructed to apply way down the list. The other thing, and I do want to say that there was a list in your packet this evening of some communities that do this, and at the end of my remarks in writing, I'll note that this is not a universal adoption among the people who compete against us for the pool of contractors. But from my understanding, Salem and Lynn were cited several times, but neither of those communities have a apprentice requirement in their ordinance. And that I want to speak to in just one little bit, which is, again, reading the plain language of the proposed ordinance. It says that you must have a recognized program at the time of bidding. Well, that presumes that, A, you have one, and that you must demonstrate it at the time of bidding. And I will point out that having something that cuts back the pool of bidders is not in the best interest of the city from the lack of competition. Competition among qualified companies, and I'll get to that in a moment, because that's the bad actor part of all this. I use as an example when we did the asbestos tile removal at the center school. We had only one bid, and that was even before we imposed any of these proposed changes. We sent out to 10 firms in Essex County that were also minority and women-owned businesses, just to try to encourage people in the field. We got only the one bid. Thankfully, it was within the amount of money that we were able to have available as an appropriation. But we believe that people in that trade very rarely have trades workers that participate through their employer in an apprentice training program. And then bids using state funding require we include targeted participation goals, and that's in the MSBA and the SRF, which is the funding source for our utility constructions, where we did the water programs in Peabody. The roster of certified companies eligible for counting towards such goals include very small firms and others that may not employ apprentice workers as would be required under the REO. Let me speak for a moment on the bad actors. One of the results of these panels was the imposition of pre-qualification on any project of $10 million or more. It's an additional vetting of bidders and contractors for filed subbidders and general contractors, where some of these issues are part of the evaluation process. Now, I would tell you that there are no dollar limits established in the ordinance, so it could go down to smaller suppliers, but the state has decided through the legislature to only require pre-qualification at $10 million or more. That's occurred twice in Peabody since I've been here. The first time was for the construction of the middle school, and the second was the renovation of the Winona water treatment plant. The other thing that was brought up was, well, we need this because you're spending federal money, and as far as I know, all of the projects that we've done have not spent any of the federal opera money. And my understanding is that nothing in our pipeline will be doing that, including the police station. At the end of the day, we become, if we adopt this, especially with the apprentice requirement, an outlier in the market. We compete, and I'm going to read verbatim from the last part of my remarks. We compete in the public construction marketplace with 350 other cities and towns, plus independent districts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts itself, housing authorities, other public agencies, and private firms looking to employ construction firms and trade contractors, large and small. Considering just the cities and towns, only 9 of the 350, that's 2.5%, other towns that compete with us, and the list is prepared in the packet, and I will state that some of those do not have employer apprentice programs in their active ordinances right now, have REOs for bids, and some of the 9 cited in the responsible employer ordinance overview in the packet later remove the requirement to use an apprentice program. And I would tell you, in addition to some of the other places that don't have it, places who are bigger participants in the marketplace, such as Massport, nor does the MSBA require us to do this. So the concerns are valid. The solution is statewide and not to make Peabody an outlier in the marketplace, because fewer bids means more cost and the bidders know who the competition is, and if they know the market is short and there's fewer people that are qualified, and we will qualify them at $10 million or more, we could pay more for our work, and that is a cost to me and the other taxpayers of the city. And I thank you, and I'm open to any questions that any of you would have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doucette. Are there any councilors who have any questions for Mr. Doucette at this time? All right, seeing none. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, and I knew Dan had some issues with this, although I just want to correct the record with, this was in subcommittee. I was on several emails with Chairman O'Neill, who had repeatedly asked for responses. The only one I heard back from, I did speak to Mike Gingrich on one occasion, and I heard back, Don Kahn recently had worked on this with me. You'll see Don's response, his initial response a while back on this, and you'll also, and I could also attest to the fact that through further discussions, he had no further legal issues with it. Don did state he wasn't giving an opinion whether he agreed or disagreed with it. He was giving a legal opinion on whether we could do it, whether it covered everything that needed to be covered. And in Don's response, you'll see that the vast majority of the items in the ordinance are covered under state and federal law. And you ask, well, why should we do it then? As Salem said, and nobody ever stated also, by the way, that Salem or Lynn had these in there. Actually, I believe Yusuf from the North Shore Labor Council said when they saw this in conjunction with the Lynn and Salem ordinances, they want to go back and add this to those ordinances, whereas I want to go back and add portions of there, and the mayor would like to also go back and add those items here. As far as, the chapter 149, 149A, it's clearly stated in there. Even Don Kahn in his response to the council, which is in your packet at the beginning, mentions 149 and 149A. And if I can find you a page, I will. It's item 8A, which is roughly about the 6th page in. He lists everything. He says, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 149, 148, the proposed ordinance would require that all contractors and subcontractors comply with the following conditions. All contractors and subcontractors. So again, the assertion that what's covered and what's not, it's all. And the additional assertion that there's no monetary, it was a late communication. I did forward it to the mayor several hours before the meeting. At the mayor's request, we added a monetary value to the ordinance, which is listed at the very top of the ordinance. I believe there was some discussion with Dan on that. As the mayor stated, Dan would have liked to have seen it. So that assertion is false, that there is no monetary value. I make no doubt, I don't doubt Mr. Doucette's qualifications. He seems to be a foremost expert in the field. I think there was some ample opportunity to respond to this in 2.5 years, and now night of, we're going to hear these supposed oppositions or supposed reasons for opposing, whereas, yeah, let's go back to the cities and towns that have it. Medford, same size as the city of Peabody, probably more labor in the city of Medford than in the city of Peabody, being its proximity to Boston. It still has the responsible employer ordinance. I don't know which ones Mr. Doucette's referencing that no longer have it. I know some were deemed illegal. They were brought to court, and that's referenced again by 2 attorneys in the packet. One being the attorney for Local 6 in the Medford City Solicitor. There's a doctrine that allows cities and towns to do this. It's the market participant doctrine, that as long as they're performing work for the benefit of their community, they're a participant in the market, and they're allowed to have these ordinances. The 2 that were overturned, the attorneys didn't argue that market participant doctrine. When they did, they were put back in. Again, Springfield, we're talking, I believe the date was 2012. So 11 years ago, Springfield. They made some changes to it again, maybe about 6 years ago. They still have it in their ordinance, the apprenticeship program. Worcester, heard these same arguments. You can find numerous newspaper articles about the Worcester ordinance, all these same articles. You know how many problems these cities and towns have had since they implemented this exact language? I didn't change anything except for Peabody where Medford was. And you know how many problems they've had? Zero. They've been vetted. They've had zero issues with these things. I think that sometimes, as I stated earlier, you wear multiple hats. Mr. Doucette has a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the purchasing in the city is done properly and to his standards and the way he would like. I hold that responsibility, and I hold a responsibility to the residents of the city to make sure that the city's taking the lead and that, these kids aren't being, money's not being taken out of their pockets for money that we're spending on schools, and we're going to see some major projects happen in the city over the next couple of years. You know what I want on the jobs? I want these kids on the job. I want the Essex Tech kids on the job, not because of a technicality that, 149, 149A, which is there, by the way, but, I'll defer on that. I'd like to see these upcoming projects with these guys working on the projects. I mentioned to the mayor earlier Medford High School. I don't know if many of you know this, but Medford High School and Peabody High School, exact same building, approved by the MSBA, exact same year. Medford High, still a lot of life left in that building. Peabody High, not so much life left. The difference was Medford used more organized labor at the time on the project. And again, yes, I advocate for organized labor, but I advocate more for apprenticeship programs where people are taught day in and day out how to do this work, and that's their careers, that's their profession, that's what they bring home to their families and say, this is what I know how to do and this is what I contribute. As I've said, I've been a member of a labor union for 30 years. When I was younger, I didn't tout that very much because I knew some people weren't so much pro-labor. I'm 50 years old. The union bought me my house. The union put my kids through school. The union, as many have pointed out to me, including Tom Gould at one point, GE built these houses, built this city on their unions. So I don't really feel necessary to defend whether, I want a union or apprenticeship program or whatever. I think that the verbiage that was thrown out here was, half of it was already addressed, and for some reason that portion of it was left out. We mentioned, I believe Mr. Doucette mentioned that federal money was mentioned. The only time I heard federal money mentioned was the Inflation Reduction Act, which I hope you guys are looking at the Inflation Reduction Act because it could possibly bring a lot of money to this community. And when Mr. Saliba says if 15% of your labor is part of an apprenticeship program and that qualifies us, he's the foremost expert on labor, and he's the one that's been emailing me for upwards of 6 months on the IRA to become educated on it because it will bring opportunity to the city. So we heard from our state representatives, we heard from our local labor representatives. We have some young guys here that probably have to work very early tomorrow morning that took the time out of their night. I feel like 2.5 years, I've waited. I'm not going to extend it. I'm going to go for a vote. I'm going to sink or swim with the vote. I hope you all support it for the reasons I mentioned. I've also said to the mayor, in addition to the change that the mayor requested with the monetary cap on there, or monetary minimum, the mayor asked that we bring this back for review in 6 months with opinions from Dan as well as Mike Gingrich from Finance to see if there were any issues with it. And I'll state publicly, I don't dig my heels in with anything. I was always open to change this, to move on this, to do even the changes the mayor asked about today, hours before the meeting. Go ahead, let's do it. Let's just get this passed and we'll address it. I'm going to submit the Salem ordinance. We're going to come back to this ordinance and add factors from the Salem. And in 6 months during budget time, we'll get an opinion from our city solicitor and our finance director whether this is working. I publicly say that if it is not working and they could show me that it is not working for some reason, which no other city or town has been able to show me, and I've reached out to several city councilors that are very happy with this ordinance and have no issue both in Medford and Springfield. I don't think we're going to have any either, but we could look at that in 6 months. So with that, if nobody has anything else to say, I'd like to move the motion to advertise.
Just Mr. Mayor first, then Councilor O'Neill.
Real quick, thank you, Councilor. One item I did want to mention, we had talked about 6 months. I think it will be hard in 6 months to really put a real value to this. Maybe we do it a year from now at the end of next year, so that can give us a real value of it as to where things stand. But thank you for the information and bringing it forward. Councilors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be real quick. State at the outset that my family is union. My late mother, Jacqueline, my mother-in-law, who is super union, and my wife is a member of the union. So this is not an anti-union, pro-union, any statement other than just the process. I agree with Councilor Turco's comments about, I'm a little frustrated about how, not through any fault of his own, but we have a lot of stuff coming at us tonight. The draft, Dan Doucette's valid comments, things that we should consider. And certainly, I'm frustrated we're at the spot. We tried to work through legal affairs, and quite honestly, we just didn't get that material, so that's why Councilor Turco, brought it out of committee. But I'm looking at this tonight and hearing what I think overall is a well-vetted, based on the prior cities have looked at, other cities have looked at this, well-vetted document that, basically recertifies what the bidding and procurement laws state for construction projects. They're part of state laws. I'm concerned with some of the issues that Dan Doucette has brought up based on his decades of, experience. I think we should consider them. I would rather have us, while I understand there's a talk about reviewing this in a few months with particular changes, I'd rather have a good working product that everyone has looked at and is comfortable. That's what I would feel supporting, rather than saying, here's a whole lot of stuff that I'm not always equipped to handle on based on the time frame we've had it. Normally we wouldn't accept late communications. There's just a lot to this. I would rather us, even though Councilor Turco says he wants to vote tonight, I would rather we extend this just to get a more workable final product, and having the purchasing, finance, Mayor, Councilor Turco vet this and come up with, here's what we think works. That way it's an easy vote. I'm not comfortable voting on this tonight, so I won't be supporting it as currently written. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Any other councilors on this? So just to clarify, Councilor Turco, the motion would be to adopt the language from late communication 3. Is that correct?
Correct. And just some clarity on late communication 3. That's been in your packet for 2.5 years. The late communication was the change to Peabody from, I think in the packet it says Medford. But that's in 2 places where it said Medford. And both of those were changed to Peabody, and I forwarded that as a late communication to have that on the record. And the other change was at the mayor's request to add the minimum for project values at $250,000, which was added at the top of the responsible employer ordinance on the late communication. And I additionally added Article 4, purchasing, Section 1135 as the section of the ordinance to add this. With that, this wasn't a late communication. This was in your packets for 2.5 years. And I understand, Councilor O'Neill, you're concerned about making changes. Mr. Doucette had 2.5 years to reach out and see if, with these changes, because I had heard, over and over again that there were some issues about maybe limiting the amount of competition. And I love what Representative Walsh said. It may limit the amount of competition to good employers that we want in this city. I'm okay with that. I've heard the argument that maybe it might cost a little bit more. Nobody made that argument tonight because I think that's a false argument, and it won't cost more because prevailing wage is what it is. Product is what it is. So with that, I'm ready to move forward with those changes. I again commit to all of you that if in 1 year's time the mayor comes here and tells us that there are issues with this ordinance, we'll work on that. And in the meantime, we're going to refer that Salem ordinance to a subcommittee and possibly have this before us anyway for additional changes. The objective is to get this on the books. And you have all had 2.5 years to make any changes that you wanted to also. So, and I didn't see anybody ask for any. So I appreciate it. And I'm going to move forward to advertise, and if you'd like me to read it, I will.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. And just to clarify, I wasn't insinuating that it was a late communication that we hadn't seen the information before. I just wanted to make sure we have the correct verbiage that was accounted for in the most recent. Before we have you with your motion, I know Councilor Rossignol wanted to speak on this. Any other councilors? By show of hands, Councilor Gould afterwards, and then we can move forward with the motion. Councilor Rossignol.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Turco. So are you going to add verbiage that there's going to be a sunset clause in this for 1 year, or how is that going to be determined?
No, I won't sunset it because sunsetting will end the ordinance. What I'll do is I'll 1 year from today's date schedule in subcommittee through legal affairs with the mayor to discuss any issues with the ordinance as it stands or any proposed changes the city or the purchasing agent would like to see in the ordinance to make it more effective.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Councilor Rossignol. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like Councilor O'Neill, my parents were both union members. My grandparents were union members. I myself was a union member. Again, I graduated the apprentice program at GE, and because I was able to get on the apprentice program, it changed my life. Changed my life in such a positive way. I ended up having a great career, 25 years at GE, was able to buy a business here in Peabody, but could not have done it if it wasn't for the apprentice program. I would have been floundering aimlessly, looking to get a career, but the apprentice program at GE really set me on the right course. And I give Councilor Turco credit for being diligent about this. Good job, Councilor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. So moving forward with your motion, Councilor Turco, and I apologize for all the questions, but I want to clarify. So we're going to move forward with your motion, and the intent would be to bring the language from Salem back to Legal Affairs Subcommittee to review, and then within a year's time, we would review this. Correct?
The motion is the initial motion, so there'll be a couple of motions here. The first motion is to pass to advertise this as read, which is late 3, which I submitted to the clerk with those changes that I had referenced. So that would be my first motion to pass this as read. If you'd like me to read it, I will, because the motion is as read, so I guess I must read it. With that, the second motion will be to refer this. I actually don't think I'm going to make a motion about the Salem ordinance because I do have it with me, but I would rather refer it to the council. Submit it to the clerk for the full council in 2 weeks, and then we can refer it to legal affairs from there.
Mr. Mayor, did you have?
Well, first, please don't read the ordinance. But I wanted just to say I'm going to work with Councilor Turco. I would like to submit something to the clerk's office for next week to be put on the following week. I thought the Salem ordinance was very well written, and I want to just kind of use that, and that we can submit it for whenever the next available meeting would be. Because I'd like to move on that.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Any other councilors? If not, Councilor Turco.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, am I required to read this? No, I'm
I guess,
not. Okay.
do we need a vote for it?
Okay.
We've received it. It's on the record, so we're good.
Okay. So move to advertise item 3, late ad 3A. Move to receive and advertise. I think did we receive it officially? Okay. Draft and advertise. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Turco on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
No.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rossignol,
Yes.
Gamache,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-1.
Councilor Rossignol.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Turco. Councilor Turco.
Councilor Turco.
Sorry, Mr. President, what was it?
Through you to Councilor Turco. Could you make another motion just saying that you're going to put this on the agenda for a year from now?
Yes, in 1 year's time, what is this, October, prior to prior to 2000. In December of 2024, we'll put this on the agenda for review. Can I make a motion that far out, or? Okay. Okay. So I'd like to refer the issue of progress on the responsible employer ordinance into the Legal Affairs Subcommittee for discussion.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilors, you heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, councilors. Moving on to reports of committees. Industrial Committee, Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was more of an informative meeting. We had two topics that were discussed. The first topic was the MBTA Bus Community Housing Program. Mr. Bellavance has been working on that, he's going to bring it back to us sometime in January, February. But it was more an informative meeting about the status of the program. And there was some discussion, particularly with Councilor Rossignol, who has been opposed to this draft that the MBTA bus community is proposing. And a lot of us agree with him. And he's whispering in my ear for me to say something, but... Just get closer to the mic. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. So there was an informative meeting. There was an informative meeting about the 40B subsidized housing inventory with the mayor and Mr. Bellavance. And Councilor Manning Martin is diligently working on getting the information to us, and the mayor was very helpful in providing it. We have a 1,000-unit increase. We're up to 11.18% above the 10% threshold. We have 2,095 units of subsidized housing. We're in, I can't even read my writing, but there was a motion by Councilor Manning Martin to ask the fire department for an accurate number of beds in the group homes in the city. And I'd like to make a motion for that. I thought Councilor Manning Martin had a formal motion. No, did you?
Councilor Manning Martin.
I did not, but if you can add in that motion to request the addresses of all the group homes in the city of Peabody to include the capacity of occupancy at those residences, then that would be perfect.
Madam Clerk, do you need help on that? So moved, Madam Clerk. Are you okay on that motion?
Yep, we'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Councilor Gould. Councilor Rossignol had to
On the motion, for clarification, are you requesting that the fire department give Kirk Bellavance the number of beds per group home? Just for clarification.
To the city council, yes. And then we can work with community development from there.
That was my clarification, whether it was going to the council or whether it was going to community development. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Thank you, Councilor Rossignol. So, Clerk Danforth, you're okay on that? Thank you very much. And that was an informative meeting, Mr. President. It's both staying in committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Moving on. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, there's a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. That's what the clerk just reminded me. So moving forward with the Councilor Gould's motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
And that is the status of the Industrial Community Development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Municipal Safety Committee, Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Municipal Safety Committee met this evening with all committee members present and a full complement of the full council as well on the issue of a petition received from residents of the Mount Vernon Street neighborhood regarding an increased amount of speeding and traffic issues on their road. Residents George Silva and Sylvia Cervello joined and expressed their concerns into the record. Captain Richards also joined us, excuse me, who took and takes all residents' concerns like this very seriously, and he has already begun to analyze the data and recollect data in that area, which he believes, as well as the residents expressed, has been exacerbated by the fresh paving of Mount Vernon Street. So once that data is collected, he plans to take a look at the data and redeploy counters on Mount Vernon Street with increased ticketing and enforcement and an increased police presence. And he's going to get back with a report of progress on that once he collects more data. There was one motion from the municipal safety meeting earlier, and it was by Councilor Gamache to request that the Peabody Police Department consult with and work with DPW in taking a look at adding striping to delineate parking on the wide street that is Mount Vernon to indicate public parking spots on the cemetery side of Mount Vernon. So that was one motion. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Manning Martin. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Sorry, my apologies. All in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. It's been a long night. All right. Councilor Manning Martin.
It has been a long night, but there's been a lot on the agenda, so understandable. So that is report of municipal safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Legal Affairs Committee, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Legal Affairs Committee met earlier this evening. In attendance were committee members Councilors McGinn, Melville, Peach, and Turco. We were also joined by Councilors Daigle, Manning, Gould, Gamache, Melville, and Rosignol. The first agenda item was the request to purchase city-owned land, which is located at 2 Linda Jean Lane. The request to purchase this parcel was from the residents at 27 Emily Lane, the Polagnonis, please. Sorry. Legal Affairs Committee received communication 8D during our meeting on a suspension of rules. I'd like to make a motion to accept 8D for this meeting. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Briefly, 2 Linda Jean is a city-owned park. The residents had an in-ground pool installed on a portion of the city-owned land in 2008. The plan submitted as part of the original building permit application process shows the pool being constructed solely on private property. As previously stated, the pool is located on a portion of city-owned property. An appraisal was given to the city by the applicants. There were several questions raised in the meeting regarding concerns on the overall sale process for selling land, including notification of abutters. Councilor Turco had concerns regarding the collection of property taxes, knowing that this particular parcel had been used for active use for the past 15 years. After additional comments, the committee voted to move the process forward with the following co-motion made by Councilors Melville and Turco, which passed by a vote of 5-0. I now bring it forward to the full council's consideration. Number 1, applicant will pay all assessed property taxes on the portion of the city parcel used by the applicants for the past 15 years. Number 2, applicant will be responsible for all costs of third-party appraisal on the proposed parcel of 4,161 square feet. Number 3, the council will be with an appraised value. The council will be provided with an appraised value and recommended sale price by community development. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Gould.
Yes.
Rosignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second agenda item was regarding amending zoning ordinance, vacant structures and vacant land. That was kept in committee. No action was taken. The last item was a discussion of a motion made by Councilor Turco regarding the number of continuances with meetings that have been occurring over the past several months. The issues raised during the discussion included basic items like the notice requirement to abutters, letting them know about public meetings or hearings that have changed or continue to change, and also certainly most basic of issues with scheduling of meetings and coordinating agenda. The consensus is that the council will push harder to enforce our own rules regarding special permit applications. City clerks should not be receiving a special permit application until all required boards have given their approvals. It was noted that special permit applications are signed off by the building inspector. So with that, there was a motion that we request there was a motion made to request that the building inspector adhere to the special rules. That motion passed 5-0, and I bring it forth for the full council's consideration. Be it moved that the building inspector adhere to the special permit, to the rules of order, section 17 of the rules of order of the Peabody City Council. No application for a license or permit shall be entertained by the council until all of the permits and approvals required to be obtained from other governmental entities have been obtained and the applicant so certifies to the council. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilors, you heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report of committee.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Moving on to motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple of motions, so bear with me. The first motion I'll make as a co-motion with you was to I forget the section it's in, but it's under streets with parking restrictions listed in the ordinance, and I'll get that number for you, Allison. But to make MacArthur Road no parking on the northerly side from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilors, you heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I apologize. Councilor Manning Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Councilor Turco. Have you gotten police feedback on that?
Yes, I have. I've actually spoken to several neighbors. Not everybody's in agreement on it, but this has been an issue that's been going on for 8 years. As you know, as some of you may know, Mac Road is right near the Brown School. Seems to be the preferred parking place for everybody to pick up their kids and drop off their kids in the early morning, which has created some major congestion off of Lynn Street. Years past, we've had fire and police go down and review whether the safety issues that residents were concerned about with emergency vehicles being able to get by at those hours. They didn't find any major issues with those, but the issue has reared its ugly head again this year, to the point where several residents that live at the beginning of Mac Road, as well as some at the end, asked if I could put this ordinance forward. I emailed Captain Richards, and then we spoke via text. Actually, we may have spoken on the phone, but regardless, we spoke. And he did say maybe do both sides of the street, and I'd be more inclined to just do one side, so that at least there's, if the people in the northerly side have a kid, and their car's doesn't fit in the driveway, they can at least move it to the other side of the street during those hours, and it would be legal. So I don't want to totally inconvenience all the residents. So yes, Councilor Manning, sorry for the long answer, but I did speak to Captain Richards about this.
Thank you. That was a long answer. And I asked that because I am familiar, and I've gotten calls as well, and I had reached out to Captain Richards, and he said that he was going to, and the chief, and they said they were going to work on an ordinance. So I just wanted to tie that all in, that it's incorporated in your ordinance that you're putting forward, and that the public knows that the police were involved in orchestrating the change. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Thank you, Councilor Turco, and I agree with both of you. It's been an ongoing issue, and I appreciate you bringing that forward. And I'd like to thank Captain Richards and Sergeant Harkins for their help with that too. So, on the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a motion to repair the sidewalk at 24 Quail Road, where recently an elderly resident tripped over a broken piece of the sidewalk and fell, and you hurt themselves pretty bad. So I'm not going to make a emergency preamble on that unless you prefer, Mr. President, but I think we should refer that to public service and with please express urgency in the motion from Council Welton and I as a co-motion.
A strongly written letter. I think that's what he says.
Strongly written, yes.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. I appreciate that. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this one, I think, should be an emergency preamble. Is a blind resident at 5 Lynch Street whose sidewalk is in disrepair. Excuse me, 5 Lynch Street. I don't know what I said, but 5 Lynch Street. That's a co-motion with Councilor Welton. And I believe the first part of the motion is motion for the emergency preamble.
Councilor, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Eagle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Melville, McGinn,
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, Councilors. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the motion is to repair the broken sidewalk that's in disrepair at 5 Lynch Street. So moved. Lynch, 5 Lynch.
5
Am I not
Lynch,
saying
yep.
Lynch?
Thank you, Councilor Turco. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
No further motions, Mr. President. Just to thank you to all of you for hearing me, gab for a substantial amount of time. But again, I thank you for your support, and Councilor Gould and if Councilor Gamache was here, I thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, I'd like to receive item 8A and refer it to Industrial and Community Development Committee, if that's appropriate. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilors, you heard the motion. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Daigle. I was wondering if this one, well, two things. I was wondering if it belongs in legal affairs, but also if we would want to simultaneously send it to community development for a recommendation. There's a time limit on this one. There's a 30-day limit and the clock's ticking, so I think we would want to get community development's input on that as fast as possible.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Daigle, would you like to amend your motion?
Yes, please do so. To Legal Affairs and Community Development for an opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to thank our IT department, who's been working for a few weeks to get us this new sound system, and I think they're still tweaking it tonight, but down the road, it'll definitely be an improvement for us, and we'll have a TV screen on this side. I'm told, I was here while they were training, and the acoustics were really good the day I was here, so thank you, IT, for this improvement. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle, and thank you, IT. Councilor O'Neill.
No motions this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive and approve item 9A, a banner request for St. Vasilios Greek Orthodox Church, 5 Paleologus Street, and Stage 1 Association of Patrons, PVMHS, 39 Donegal Road. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 10B and adopt as advertised.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach. Oh, excuse me, roll call on that one.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville. Yes. McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, councilors. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, I move to receive item 8G and late communication 2, which replaces 8G.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know it's been a long night, but if you will indulge me, late communication 2 is a resolution that I drafted and the mayor has signed on to. This is I'm going to be vulnerable for a minute, so bear with me. So at this time, I'd like to move to endorse the following resolution supporting October 2023 as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month and October 15th, 2023 as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. Whereas pregnancy and infant loss is a common occurrence, one that is usually not recognized, and whereas pregnancy is usually a time of excitement and expectation as parents prepare for the arrival of their baby, and whereas tragically approximately 1 in 4 women in the United States suffer a miscarriage, stillbirth, or infant loss, and whereas many of these parents live and work in our community, and whereas this devastating tragedy often occurs suddenly without warning as a result of miscarriage, stillbirth, preterm birth, SIDS, accident, or other causes or complications, and whereas the tragedy of pregnancy and infant loss is a traumatic and heartbreaking event as families recognize that even a short life is impactful, and the grief of those who mourn the loss of these lives should be remembered by a compassionate public, and whereas increased awareness of the causes and impacts surrounding pregnancy and infant loss may lead to greater understanding, support, and resources in our community, and whereas recognizing Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month and Pregnancy Infant Loss Remembrance Day on October 15th would enable the people of Peabody to consider how, as individuals and a community, they can meet the needs of bereaved mothers, fathers, and family members. And whereas bereaved parents around the world remember their children annually on October 15th with a candle lighting at 7 p.m. known as the Wave of Light, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Peabody, through its Honorable Mayor Edward A. Betancourt Jr. and the Honorable City Council jointly proclaim October 2023 to be Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month and October 15th, 2023 to be Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day, and extend heartfelt condolences and compassion to the residents of Peabody who have experienced such loss. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Councilor Peach.
I'd like to echo those sentiments as well. It's an issue that I think a lot of families deal with, and I appreciate you bringing that to light and making sure that we rightfully acknowledge that date. So on that, we're going to do a roll call vote.
Councilors Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, councilors. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. In relation to that, I do welcome anyone in the public or on this council who wishes. There's a 9th annual gathering for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day on Sunday, October 15th at 1 p.m. This is the first year this gathering on the North Shore is being held in Peabody, and it's being held at Temple Tiferet Shalom on Lowell Street. It begins at 1 p.m. Everyone is welcome. It's a non-secular event, so I welcome the public to join if they so choose in remembrance on Sunday. Thank you. No further motions.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one motion to request that Community Development provide the dates. All approved comprehensive permits will expire, and the number of units involved affecting our subsidized housing inventory should construction not begin. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Manning Martin.
No further motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion with yourself for a hazard on 8 Holden Street sidewalks for a resident with mobility challenges. I'd like to do emergency preamble, please.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. So the first motion will be for an emergency preamble. which is going to require a roll call vote, and then we'll take the second part. Thank you.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, councilors. Councilor Gould.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. President, to have the sidewalk repaired at 8 Holden Street. It is in complete disarray, and it's become a real health hazard. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. And I think on that particular motion, we wanted to have forestry take a look at the tree root that's over there, because that's what's causing the mobility challenge with some of the cracks in the sidewalk. Would you mind amending it?
So
as
moved,
such?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilors, you heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gould.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Rozignol.
No motions this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Rozignol. Councilor Melville.
Did we take 10C?
We did not.
All right, you want me to do that for you?
Yes, please.
All right. Move to adopt ordinance amending Chapter 19-81, handicap zone for the code of the city, Peabody, 17 MacArthur Road. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
No further motions.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7A and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. You heard the motion on the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Mr. President, under special rules, move to receive 7B and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Special rules, move to receive item 7C and refer to finance. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. On the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Special rules, move to receive item 8F and set up a public hearing. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilors on the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Mr. President, if you have nothing, I would move to adjourn.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. I have nothing. Let's adjourn. So moved. All in favor, any opposed? It's a vote.